Leviticus chapter 14. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, This is the law of the leper, in whatever day he should have been cleansed, and shall be brought to the priest. And the priest shall come forth outside the camp, and the priest shall look, and behold, if the infection has been healed of the leprosy from the leper, then the priest shall assign, and they shall take for the one being cleansed 2 clean, living small birds, and wood of cedar, and twined scarlet, and hyssop. And the priest shall assign, and they shall slay the one small bird into an earthenware receptacle over living water. And the small living bird he shall take it, and the wood of cedar, and the spun scarlet, and the hyssop, and shall dip them, and the small living bird, into the blood of the small bird being slain over living water. And he shall sprinkle it about upon the one being cleansed of the leprosy 7 times, and he will be clean. And he shall send out the small living bird into the plain. And the one being cleansed shall wash his garments, and he shall shave all his hair, and shall bathe in water, and shall be clean. And after these things he shall enter into the camp, and shall spend time outside of his house 7 days. And it will be on the 7th day he shall shave all of his hair, the hair of his head, and the beard, and the brows, even all his hair he shall shave. And he shall wash his garments, and shall bathe his body in water, and he shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take 2 lambs unblemished, of a year old, and 1 sheep unblemished of a year old, and 3/10 of fine flour for a sacrifice offering, being mixed in olive oil, and 1 small cup of olive oil. And the priest that cleanses shall stand the man for the cleansing, and these offerings before the Lord at the door of the tent of the testimony. And the priest shall take the 1 lamb, and bring it for the trespass offering, and the small cup of olive oil. And he shall separate them as a separation offering before the Lord. And he shall slay the lamb in the place where they slay the whole burnt offerings, and the ones for a sin offering in the holy place. For it is the one for a sin offering, as the one of the trespass offering is for the priest. It is a holy of holies. And the priest shall take from the blood of the trespass offering, and the priest shall place it upon the lobe of the ear of the one being cleansed, the right, and upon the thumb of his hand, the right, and upon the big toe of his foot, the right. And the priest, taking from the small cup of the olive oil, he shall pour upon the left hand of the priest, and the priest shall dip his right finger from the olive oil being in his left hand. And he shall sprinkle from the olive oil with his finger 7 times before the Lord. And the left behind olive oil being in his hand, the priest shall place upon the lobe of the right ear of the one being cleansed, and upon the thumb of his hand, the right, and upon the big toe of his foot, the right, upon the place of the blood of the trespass offering. And the left over olive oil that is upon the hand of the priest shall place it upon the head of the one being cleansed, and the priest shall atone for him before the Lord. And the priest shall offer the thing for the sin offering, and the priest shall atone for the one being cleansed of his sin. And after this the priest shall slay the whole burnt offering. And the priest shall offer the whole burnt offering and the sacrifice offering upon the altar before the Lord. And the priest shall atone for him, and he shall be cleansed. And if he should be in need, and his hand should not find what is needed, he shall take 1 lamb for what he trespassed for a cutaway portion, so as to atone for him, and 1/10 of fine flour being mixed in olive oil for a sacrifice offering, and 1 small cup of olive oil, and 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, as much as his hand found. And the one shall be for a sin offering, and the one for a whole burnt offering. And he shall bring them on the 8th day for his cleansing to the priest unto the door of the tent of the testimony before the Lord. And the priest, taking the lamb of the trespass offering, and the small cup of the olive oil, and he shall place them for an increase offering before the Lord. And he shall slay the lamb of the trespass offering. And the priest shall take from the blood of the trespass offering, and shall place it upon the lobe of the ear of the one being cleansed, the right, and upon the thumb of his hand, the right, and upon the big toe of his foot, the right. And of the olive oil the priest shall pour upon his own hand, the left. And the priest shall sprinkle with his finger, the right, from the olive oil in his hand, the left, 7 times before the Lord. And the priest shall put of the olive oil being in his hand upon the lobe of the ear of the one being cleansed, the right, and upon the thumb of his hand, the right, and upon the big toe of his foot, of the right, upon the place of the blood of the one of the trespass offering. And the leftover olive oil being in the hand of the priest he shall place upon the head of the one being cleansed, and the priest shall atone for him before the Lord. And he shall offer one from the turtle doves, and from the young ones of the pigeons, in so far as his hand found, the one for a sin offering, and the one for a whole burnt offering with the sacrifice offering. And the priest shall atone for the one being cleansed before the Lord. This is the law, in whom is found the infection of the leprosy, and not finding means in his hand enough for his cleansing. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, Whenever you should enter into the land of the Canaanites, which I give to you for a possession, and I put an infection of leprosy in the houses of the land procured by you, then one from the house shall come and announce to the priest, saying, Something as an infection has appeared to me in the house. And the priest will assign to pack up the house before the priest enters to look at the infection, that in no way as much as might be in the house should become unclean. And after these things the priest shall enter to study the house, and he shall look at the infection. And behold, if the infection is in the walls of the house, with a cavity being greenish or being reddish, and their appearance deeper in the walls, and the priest coming forth from out of the house at the door of the house, that the priest shall separate the house 7 days. And the priest shall come back again on the 7th day, and he shall look at the house. And behold, if the infection was diffused in the walls of the house, then the priest shall assign, and they shall take out the stones in which is the infection, and shall cast them outside the city into an unclean place. And they shall scrape the house from inside round about, and shall pour out the plaster dust of the scraping outside the city into an unclean place. And they shall take stones being scraped of others, and they shall substitute for the stones, and they shall take other plaster dust, and they shall plaster the house. But if the infection should come again, and should rise up in the house after the taking away of the stones, and after the scraping the house, and after the plastering, then the priest shall enter and shall look. If the infection in the house be dispersed, it is a permanent leprosy in the house. It is unclean. And they shall demolish the house, and its wood, and its stones, and all the plaster dust of the house they shall bring forth outside the city unto an unclean place. And the ones entering into the house, all the days which it is being separated, will be unclean until evening. And the one going to bed in the house shall wash his garments, and he will be unclean until evening. And the one eating in the house shall wash his garments. And if coming, the priest should enter and look, and behold, the infection is not dispersed in the house after the plastering the house, that the priest shall declare the house cleansed, for the infection is healed. And he shall take to purify the house 2 small living birds, and wood of cedar, and twined scarlet, and hyssop. And he shall slay the one small bird into an earthenware utensil over living water. And he shall take the wood of cedar, and the twined scarlet, and the hyssop, and the living small bird, and shall dip them into the blood of the small bird having been slain over living water, and shall sprinkle about with them upon the house 7 times. And he shall purify the house with the blood of the small bird, and with the living water, and with the living small bird, and with the wood of cedar, and with the hyssop, and with the twined scarlet. And he shall send out the living small bird outside the city into the plain, and shall atone for the house, and it will be clean. This is the law for every infection of leprosy and outbreak, and the leprosy of a garment, and house, and discoloration, and spot, and shining, to describe the day unclean, and the day it shall be cleansed. This is the law of the leprosy.